Hello, everybody. We are back with our second panel, and we continue our discussion on the future of film industry. Today, we have three guests. We have Kathryn Aboya from the Soul Heroine Entertainment, right? And we have Bastian Schöttner.
Yes.
Did I pronounce correctly the
Yes.
surname?
Yes.
From Terra Studios and from Berlin.
Yes.
Right. And we have Mats Damsbo, Kaspar AI from Denmark. I think he will join online, but we don't have him yet. If he manages to connect, we will take him to the panel. But we will already start our discussion with Kathryn and Bastian. Okay, so let's start with Kathryn. You are an actress. You've been an actress in several films, and now you start also to produce. You start producing your films, right? And you are working on your first film. Could you please talk about a bit more your background and your current film that you are producing?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sami. So I started off in front of the camera. I was working in the oil industry at the time, and I started taking classes on the side privately. And so I started in front of the camera. And then I was working in smaller films, helping in craft and doing different things to learn the industry, working as an extra. And then I realized that to get any juicy role, I probably have to write it and produce it myself. So that's when I started my production company about 5 years ago. And so I've helped co-produce other films, but this is the first time under my own banner that I'm producing a film.
Okay, yeah, great. Thank you, Kathryn.
You're welcome.
And Bastian, you have worked also in production. You have worked in documentary production, in children content. Now you are with Terra Productions. Could you please talk more about your background?
Yes, I'm relatively new. So I started, I think, 3 years ago. Yeah, when I first started, I worked at Terra, who specialize in documentary, which is where I gained my first experience in filmmaking. I continued in documentary, then I switched to children's television, where I worked on a few projects as a junior producer, and now I'm back at Terra, still junior producer, and yeah, so I'm on the production side, organizing and coordinating the shoots, and yeah.
Okay, so in previous panel we looked more an overview of the future of film industry. In this panel, we can go a bit more specific in the production process. So, well, let's again start with a bit more common question, but we will go more into detail. Kathryn, we can start with you. At which part of film production do you think the technology can create a significant disruption? If you think about the steps of production process.
Well, it was interesting. I didn't know too much about AI before you invited me to come to the panel, aside from my experience with Largo. But after speaking with a few friends and colleagues in the industry, they were explaining to me that, say, for Avengers, they took Thanos' face and they were able to, instead of getting someone who's a designer or CGI to go in frame by frame, they just get AI to use facial recognition, and they can, with copy and paste, change the lighting and do all sorts of things. So this allows a lot more time for creativity when a robot, so to speak, can do this for you.
And Bastian, do you think?
Yeah, I think generally we've seen technology disrupt film production this far already. I mean, when it comes to the very basics of calculations, a very rudimentary form of disruption happened there when we started to use digital ways of calculating films. But I think recently there are many new steps, especially with regard to data that have really popped up new. So for us, for example, we focus a lot on green production and sustainability. And there's lots of technology involved there as well that helps us to gain data on the productions and to see where we can sort of improve ourselves, where we can improve our productions, where we can improve our workflows. And I think that's a very important point. And I think that that is just one tiny aspect in the production phase where we can profit but I think there's many different things. Like with Largo, for example, I think it's during all the production phases where we can profit from using technology. And yeah.
But yeah, if you talk about really the stage, like development, pre-production, post-production, and distribution, so do you think starting earlier will bring more benefit? Because at earlier stage, obviously, that you have much more options about the future of the project.
Yes, of course. Like I'm always a big fan of being proactive and not reactive. So I think starting as early as possible with everything is always good, which in reality sometimes is a bit harder. But yeah, I think so. Starting as early as possible is always good. So.
But from the producer's perspective, like for example, it's producers becoming more and more involved as we progress, like an development stage that you got your screenplay, and then do you think you can influence that development stage in the development of screenplay also by using all the insights from the tools?
Yes, I think there are many ways that we can use data and Largo to sort of shape the project. I mean, we've seen that there is a genre mix that is created through the screenplay and other factors, and I think it is very interesting to see how this data can enhance things like a screenplay. For me personally, I still believe in a human magic, and I think it's like it's a balance, but I definitely think it's something that can enhance not only the production processes but also the creative elements, and something where we can profit. I mean, we've heard before about the advantages when it comes to casting, when it comes to also finding distributors or considering distributors. So yeah, I think there's many chances to enhance.
Great. Let's go a bit more specific with you as well, Kathryn, on these stages from development till distribution. I know that you are using the AI tools also on your project. So what do you think? I mean, is starting earlier bringing certain advantages, or you think it will be more useful at a certain stage of the production?
Well, I noticed just very simple examples, say for a pitch deck. I was looking at aggregates of different films that were similar to mine, and I was trying to get a low, medium, high to put forward towards investors. And then Largo came into my life, and I was able to very quickly just click a few options, and then I have all my data there. So I think as early as possible, that's even before the development stage, really. That's at the pitch stage. So I can only see it getting better as it goes along. So I'm a fan.
Okay, so well, actually, just at that specific point that Bastian also mentioned that he is a fan of the human to be at the center of the creative process, right? So here, the question how we use AI is being a driving tool or assistance tool. So what do you think? So you will prefer AI is being assistance tool, or at some point even it writes the content for you? What do you think about that?
It definitely assisted in that case, but my business partner is very well versed in the AI world, and he was explaining to me just from an administration viewpoint, say something like SharePoint and how that works. It helps in every single step. It helps with flow of information, security, traceability. So who knows what's coming next? But I mean, the way that you use it is to your benefit, right? It's how you end up using it. You could be afraid of it and say, oh, AI is doing this, but it's like, are you afraid of a wrench? It's just a tool. If you know how to use it properly, then nothing to fear.
I guess that's an important point. I can add a bit my view on that as well, as we work with many producers on the AI tools. There's a fear at the start for many producers because they feel like as they will lose their power, especially experienced producers. They have big knowledge in the industry. There's always this fear if the AI will come and just replace that, and you just become not important. There is always that fear, but once they come and they use really these AI tools, they realize actually they are actually even more powerful. They are empowered because AI is becoming over there, an assistant. It provides many insights, but without interpreting these insights, it's useless. And the person, again, we need human to interpret these results and then take the action. But in that manner, let's go to this part that you create really the content by using AI, because there are some tools and there has been some films that has been produced by using AI content. Actually, we tried there was one sci-fi film I forgot the name. It was fully written by AI, and we put this film into our system. We put into the AI system because our AI system evaluates the films to find how good it is, that you get certain insights, and it didn't like the film. It didn't like AI produced movie. And actually there was something very funny. It was a sci-fi movie, and our system, it shows the different elements in this movie. It was a sci-fi film, and AI was not finding any sci-fi elements because it was purely written. So for you, the reason you say the human should be at the center, you think AI cannot come to that level, that's the reason, or more you think the nature of the industry is really human-centered and we need human to keep the industry going on?
I think it's both. I think we have, of course, many possibilities like that film to see or to use artificial intelligence to sort of create art. For example, a friend of mine who's an artist, he sort of a sidetrack. He has this art project where he feeds tens of thousands of pictures of forests to an artificial intelligence, who then makes these video installations of artificially created forests. And you notice that it's like a bit off, but you understand that it's a forest. And I think it's the same thing with films and with the creative process itself. Like there's always this thing that only humans can do, and I think it's just that one step further. So on a concept base, I think artificial intelligence can make very interesting projects and very artistic projects. But I think, like broadly speaking, within production itself, but also within the projects, the ideas, the scripts, I think there's always something that is just magic, and I'm not sure if artificial intelligence can reach that. Maybe it will, but from right now, I don't know. I don't think so.
For the level you use, you think, we talk about benefits, you think you can name some drawbacks as well, some limitations?
Things that we sort of struggled with was just generally understanding the results. But I think also a big thing is communicating the results, which so far could still be an issue because many people don't know the platform yet, don't know Largo yet. So it's like when we show the data, there's always questions that will come. So if we say like, okay, this is the estimated revenue that this artificial intelligence calculated, there's like a big wave of questions that come. So it's like not the immediate benefit of having like, okay, so we have this data, enjoy it, do with it what you want. There's always questions that come back. And I think that is something that time could solve. With Largo becoming bigger and more known, that it can help sort of to make that easier. And I think also something that we found was within the genre mix, there were still some things that it wasn't able to fully understand yet. And for us, that led to some of the casting or the recommended cast not being 100% there, where we thought like, okay, this makes sense. But it was really good to see like, okay, we have ideas for casts, and to see like, okay, maybe let's rethink that, because the platform said like it doesn't really make sense. And yeah, it's sort of all based on the way it and that Largo understands the genres, and I think, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
And Kathryn, maybe the same question to you. And you, I mean, if you can mention that there's some data that you got that help you to think differently, or some limitation that think that let you sometimes, oh no, AI doesn't work, because we get this especially one thing, like you have certain perception, then AI is telling completely different. There's always a challenge. They say, okay, AI doesn't work, and there are cases AI doesn't work as well, because it's also only like 80% accurate. But sometimes it gives you the chance to rethink, and you realize actually you are not correct as well. So for you, were there's this kind of aha moments, or?
I thought, side note, it's very interesting that the AI didn't like the AI. It's like even AI has an ego. I don't know how that worked, but what happened? I think that in terms of finding results, it's just again a tool that you can use. It doesn't mean, well, AI has told me this, so I have to do it. It just offers you a different perspective. It's just the same as when you call a fellow producer or a fellow director or a fellow composer and you get their opinion and see what they think. It's just handy. And so I found that I was able to look at it and say, okay, well, it's saying that we'd make 7 million with a UK release. And as I said in the pitch at Cannes, the one thing that the AI can't predict is how a story will connect with the audience. So if we're taking data-oriented approaches and we're just using Netflix and Amazon algorithms, and we say, okay, well, these people all like this kind of film, so we're going to make this kind of TV show again and again and again, and this is the equation, then we lose that magic, that connection. And we can't trust AI over our own intuition. That's something that we have to use it for what it's there for, which is a tool to aid and assist. And then in the end, we have to make the decision ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we always tell as well, empower your gut feeling. Do not replace your gut feeling with AI. But just you mentioned about Netflix and Amazon, and they are disrupting the industry, not only with their business model, but also because of their data-driven approach. They know very well actually what is next, because they have data of millions of people, and they really process. They have their own AI that is learning from that, and they don't share this data, they don't share this technology. So how to be part of that, or how to fight with that? Of course, I mean, from our side, that was one of the motivations as Largo to bring such technologies as a third party, but I just wonder your opinion as a producer.
How I feel about their
yes,
approach?
I mean, yeah, because they are controlling everything, and their technology and data is not available to anybody.
We could tickle them until they give us the secret sauce and then see what happens. But I think that it's one thing that's working, but we've also seen parts that aren't working with it. We've plowed through content. They're rushing to get more content. And I don't think that they necessarily have the stronghold anymore. People are looking for stories that matter. We no longer say, okay, well, you need to watch this TV show. People don't just necessarily anymore say, well, who's in it, who's the lead? They say, what's it about? So we're going back to the story, which is the most important part. And I remember seeing something with Marlon Brando, and he said, you could have a great script, say, take, for example, Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams, that'll never change over time. It stays because the writing is so tight, it's so amazing. And he said, there are other scripts that you'd have to work like a Turk. You can't, you can take this, a great actor can make kind of not so great writing look good, but not the other way around. So I understand that Netflix and Amazon are disrupting, but in the end, a great story will trump all AI, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. What do you think, Bastian, about the platforms? They are disrupting the industry with the data and technology, and we don't have access to that.
Yeah, actually, I had to think about something that I heard in Cannes as well. They were talking about the same thing about Amazon, Netflix, and the streamers being sort of gatekeepers of all the secret sauce, how you called it. And I think, or what they said was that there is hope in AVOD, because with that, they need to make the data available to potential advertisers. And this is something that could help this information to become more accessible also for us producers. So there was sort of this spark of hope. But yeah, I think the more the better. So it's always good to have and to show and to say that this information is something that could enhance the entire industry and that could enhance the decisions that we make, the sort of films we make, and how we make the films. And so yeah, I think the information is something that we all could benefit from. And
there is also a kind of value problem as well, right? Because in box office, the understanding, calculating value is very easy because you know the ticket prices, you get the box office numbers. But on streaming platforms, you, as a producer, you sell your film to Netflix, but what will be the price then? Because you don't know the data about that viewership that your film can get or will get eventually. And also the value of, even if you get the value of a view, what's that? It's not like a ticket price to the movie theater, right? That's something, I mean, we on the AI side as well, we have this problem because we can predict like potential audience on streaming platforms, but what's the value of one person? And once you go to Netflix and you make a deal, what's the value? What do you think about that?
I definitely think it's a way how we have to sort of rethink, and I think we're still as an industry trying to understand this thing, the platforms, and to give value or to sort of have an idea of what it means that one person watches a film. And what that means financially, what that means sort of culturally, or with regard to relevance. And so I think there are definitely, many ways this is something that we need to sort of develop and to sort of, figure out how to give numbers to that. That could be something that we could maybe use also Largo for, to sort of be able to understand how this one viewer on Netflix correlates to maybe to revenues or to financials.
Yeah, I mean, one thing just to add that, I mean, we got some like deals from some clients that they have done the deals with the Netflix or other platforms, and then we have approximations for their viewerships. There is not much correlation at this moment. It's like really the case by case that you make the deals. That's actually the part that makes really, again, this value part quite vague. But I mean, even just let's look at YouTube, okay, for YouTube creators. Even them, they have an idea of the value of their content, because like you have an interval for 1,000 views value that you can make an approximation. Do you have anything to add on that? This viewership that we don't have any data, we cannot make value-based deals with these platforms, Kathryn?
You're saying in terms of Largo specifically, or?
No. I mean, as a producer, once you go to Netflix, Amazon, you will make a deal that's very difficult to put value. They will put a value, but from your side, it's very difficult to put a value on your project. That's
Yeah, your hands are tied behind your back because you have to sort of go with what they're saying. They give you a value, and then that's it, unless you're Martin Scorsese making The Irishman, right? So it's a different game. Something that was interesting on a different topic, though, was that they said that these, looping back to Scorsese, actually, was that they got AI and they were able to see that films that had directors and cast and crew that were the same over time actually did better at the box office and that sort of thing. So developing a team together actually reaped greater benefit. So it was interesting that AI was able to take that pattern and pick it out. So it's not necessarily anything to do with AI specifically, but the fact that it was able to pull that out shows that developing these relationships is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I will change the topic a bit. Let's speak about the art house cinema, which is very important in European cinema, and the difference between art house cinema and mainstream cinema once we come to the usage of artificial intelligence. Because there is this perception for in Europe at first that we observed that perception. Many producers, they thought this AI tools technology is more for the mainstream industry, for more Hollywood, which we know internally is not the case. Actually, anybody can benefit the data at any stage. But yeah, what's your view? Do you think one has more to take from the AI, the art house versus mainstream films?
I think that it just seems to level the playing field a little. Something that shooting a film entirely on an iPhone, which would have been unheard of before. So a small indie production actually has a chance to get a name much faster. So as I said, the AI is a tool that you can use, and actually I think leaves you more time for creativity because it takes those mundane tasks and is able to do it for you. So it leaves the creatives actually more time to do what they love to do, which is create. So
yeah, I think that's very strong point because there are the parts that we observe, like AI is doing certain stuff for you, which you can do yourself as well, but you do in 2 weeks, and with AI you make in 2 minutes, which you get these 2 weeks to focus on more on the creative process, right?
yes, as a very rudimentary example, say you're making a salad and you use a salad spinner to clean the leaves. I just thought of this because I was in the south of France many years ago, and I was with my boyfriend at the time and his family, and I said, "Oh, do you have a salad spinner?" And he looked at me like, "Oh God, this Canadian, salad spinner." He says, "No, we do it with our, with the kitchen towel. Why would we use a salad spinner? We want this to be an authentic salad." I said, "But you're not changing anything. You're just popping the salad in the spinner, and then it's the same thing. It's just cleaning it faster and more efficiently." So I got booted out of the house. But but that's sort of how I see AI. If you can use it for something like this and have more time to prepare your salad dressing, then why not? It's not changing the consistency.
Great analogy. And Sebastian, art house versus mainstream using AI, what do you think?
I definitely think or agree that there's chances for everyone that are project specific. But I also think with certain types of artificial intelligence, there's a price tag that comes along. So when it comes to post-production, there's still processes being developed, or if you have to develop a new sort of artificial intelligence, there is a price tag that maybe within art house might be a bit more difficult. But still, I think there are very interesting ways to use artificial intelligence. Like for example, on a concept base, on a sort of artistic base, that can lead to very interesting results within the creative aspect. But then also a platform like Largo, something where everyone can profit from, and everyone can get rid of those mundane tasks and sort of focus on the human magic, or focus on what we really want to do.
Yeah, exactly. From the art house films, actually, there is, if you think about the targets for a commercial film, you might be targeting big audience through box office or streaming platforms, and many art house films are targeting big awards in the festivals. So with AI, what we do, we learn the audience to predict the box office, to predict the streaming results. What about festivals? Do you think AI can learn that the potential of the film for different awards in different festivals?
I mean, in one way, from what I believe, there are already some processes that humans do when it comes to festivals, where we consider like, okay, does it make sense to go to this festival or this festival? Where are the chances higher? Where are the chances better? And those strategic decisions could be something where maybe it could be advantageous to have artificial intelligence sort of feed into that, or sort of give recommendations. And I mean, there is data we can see who's in the jury, who makes the decisions, and yeah, and maybe it's going to become like a thing that there is an AI prize like you are doing here, which could also be something very interesting within other festivals, and to see how this factor can sort of change the way festivals work. But I think the one thing where I can see this data working would be with regard to like which festival to go to, and to try to gain an idea where the film would work best. And yeah.
Yeah. And Kathryn, what do you think? Do you think AI can learn the behavior of juries for specific to festivals, or the cultures of festivals? Because many festivals, they have their own way of evaluating films, and their films, they have a certain style. And do you think machine can learn that and help us to see the potential of our films for the festivals that we are submitting?
I'm sure they can. I just don't know how you'd, if you could disagree with them or not, how that works. But there's nothing that would replace, say, coming to the festival and seeing Celine or someone that you've seen in another festival, and you can't give the AI a bisou and a hug and say hello and, oh, it's so nice to see you again, and feel that interaction, that energy. So I'm sure AI could do it, but I think there's a fine line that we need to use a mix of both, so that we don't lose that human connection, because we're constantly, stuck behind this. So we don't want to go any further down that rabbit hole, though we will. But
I guess, yeah, again, the human should be over there, but now we have like thousands of festivals that we can submit. Of course, the big ones are still small, but even for the big ones, you need a strategy. If you don't follow the right strategy, maybe you lose your chances to get like still a big award by going to another festival. One thing in our experiments that we have seen for the festivals, to learn the festivals, if AI, how much AI can learn, it learns very well where you don't have any chance. So where you can eliminate actually, and it's very accurate in that. Because eventually, even if it sees that you have, let's say, you have a chance in Cannes Film Festival, but many films will have a chance. So, I mean, it's not like only a few films are fitting the chances to win Palme d'Or. There is many, but then yet this you see you have a chance, but it doesn't guarantee anything. It's still your chances are very low. But if you see actually it says it has no chance, and we see it's very accurate on that, then at least you can eliminate those from your board. And from that, actually I will come to the casting, because it is similar, and actually we had also some feedback related to casting, because AI is proposing casting, and this is something we have seen like many producers are using a lot, because you have some options for the casting in your mind, or sales agents, they are bringing you some cast in terms of the marketing power. But eventually, especially if you make an English film, you have like so much options, and it's impossible for you to evaluate all these options. Do you think AI might have a benefit over there to shortlist these to narrow down your search?
Yeah, I think there are definitely ways it can help. One point that came to my mind when I started using Largo and seeing the way that it gave results of cast, for me was the idea of being inclusive, of being able to find these people that are normally marginalized and that are not as visible. And that can be something that is very, very hard to find certain people like LGBTQ, like people with disabilities. And it can really help to bring them on the radar if we are able to just find them. And I think we all agree that we want more women directors. We want more female composers. There's so many things where we want to push more, and I think it's definitely something where we can use these this data that is largely largely available, but it can just turn off the noise and bring you back to the focus, and in that way it can help you to empower people.
Great. Yeah, I think your feedback will be very interesting here as well, as you are being an actress. And do you think AI can learn from your past movies and then match you with the right character, or do you find the matching you as an actress with a character is that is something meaningful? First of all, it might be like we have actors as well. They say they don't care; they play for any character, right? Do you think it's meaningful to go in certain directions firstly as an actress, as AI is also learning that, and it gives propositions more looking at the direction that you have been successful?
It was interesting actually, because with Largo, I already had my cast determined, but I just put them in, and then it suggested a proposed cast based on the languages that they speak, their look, that sort of thing. And they were interesting. I thought, oh, that's interesting. If that actor that I would like to have, their schedule is full, I could actually take a look at this other actor. And it reminded me of when I first started working in a production company in Canada. And there was an A-list actor that they were going after. And then he wrote an article in Vanity Fair or something that was not good for his image. And so they said, oh, trade him with so-and-so. And I said, what about the other elements? Oh, they're just, actors are stocks, you know? If this one doesn't work, trade him for another one. So I think that that's something that, whereas actors would hold that very near and dear to them, for producers, it's just a numbers game. Okay, they're not available, next. So that's something with AI that would allow you to switch very quickly. Okay, these are the parameters, this is what we need, who's there, boom. And it makes that a lot easier than you thinking, okay, who does this, who speaks that, call this friend, see who's in India. It just, within a second, you have your answer. So I think in that sense, it could be great, as long as, again, you're using you're matching it to what the story is.
Thank you very much, Kathryn. So I think we need to finish the panel, but I'm just checking we can have one question from online participants. Okay. Yeah, do you think that AI can help to accelerate financing process for the producers?
Definitely. As I said, with my pitch package, I could have calculated the aggregates myself and gone into the IMDb and found the box office numbers, or on the numbers or Box Office Mojo, get all of them and figure them out. But there's also human error involved. So it's something that can do it quite quickly. Or then when I had to switch one out, they said, don't use that film as an example because it didn't do well at the box office. Swap it out for something else. So you just untick, tick, done. So it again saves you a lot of time as a first-time producer. You're wearing so many hats and learning so many things very, very quickly, and there's never enough time. So in that sense, it's a huge asset for me personally.
Bastian, what do you think?
I think, or I agree. And on top of that, something that Largo also shows, which I think is very interesting, is potential distributors, which I believe currently is only at later stages. But it would be interesting to see potential distributors that would be interested, or that could work for the film at a script stage, or at the stage where you're trying to finance the film. And I think
for like pre-sales deals.
Yes. And that's something where that could be interesting, because it could help sort of navigate your way, especially for first timers, for people who maybe just want to consider new people, want to consider new things. I mean, on the one hand, we all have the mantra, never change a working system. But I still think there's, it's people are always interested in working with new people, working with new talent, and also working with new distributors that maybe pay more, or that offer different benefits. And this could be, with regard to pre-sale, something that could also benefit the film. So it definitely can help to speed things up, because it eliminates the time and work it takes to have to delve into every detail, and it can help to sort of just turn off the noise. And help you focus.
No, absolutely. Just to close up from that point, we are at the end of session. So we will have pitching sessions today at 4:30, and the idea of these pitching sessions is also accelerating this financing process. Because one thing we have realized, the producers, once they add more of these AI results to their presentation pitch decks, as you mentioned, that makes distributors, financiers, buyers to make faster decisions firstly, because they have much more insights in a compact way. That we can observe also as a benefit of the AI. It helps the financiers to make informed decisions faster, let's say. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kathryn, for all of your input. Thank you, Bastian.
Thank you.
Yeah, that will be the end of panel, and we will continue with the next panel at 2:30 in the afternoon. For the online participants, again, please do not forget to switch to the next link to follow the next panel. Thank you very much.